Out of 8 billion souls on this planet, you are one of the very few who will hear what I'm about to say. This isn't a coincidence. It's not the algorithm. Because before anything existed, before there was solid ground beneath a single foot, before there was time to measure or a sky to gaze upon, there was a decree with your name on it. An edict written with an authority that cannot be erased. And that decree survived everything that tried to snuff it out before you even arrived. Before this message ends, the name of what was prophesied over you will be revealed. Stay until the end. What you are about to receive isn't a pep talk. It is a confirmation of what heaven has already sealed over your life, long before anyone around you had an opinion on who you were supposed to be. But first, let me meet you where you actually are. You've woken up at 3 a.m. without knowing why. It wasn't a nightmare. It wasn't the neighbor's dog or the streetlights. Your eyes just opened in the dark, and with them came a feeling you still can't quite name, even after years of trying to shake it. A sense that you landed in the wrong place. Not the wrong address, but the sense that something in the environment where you grew up never quite clicked with what was inside of you. Like the family should have been different. The timing should have been different. The whole context, the town, the circle, the era, felt like a coat 3 sizes too small, and you spent years wondering if the problem was the world around you, or if you were just fundamentally out of place everywhere you went. You've stood in front of the mirror early, before the rest of the house stirred. In that heavy morning silence, with the light still gray and the world still asleep, you looked at your own face, trying to recognize who was actually there. It wasn't vanity. It was a question. The question that returns whenever the world is quiet enough for it to be heard. Why am I here? Who is this person looking back at me? And is there something in them that justifies the space they take up in this world? The mirror didn't answer. It never does. And you learned to walk away before the silence got too heavy to breathe. And at night, when the noise died down and everyone else went to bed, you ran the numbers. Not on paper. There's no way to write this down. You seek. You dedicate yourself. You do everything right, and yet abundance never comes. And the worst part, you start wondering if you're doing something wrong, if you're being heard up above, if it's meant for you at all. It's not a lack of faith or worthiness. It's a spiritual blockage that ordinary prayer alone cannot break. The Miracle Journal unblocks this in 21 days with a spiritual protocol that works exactly where your prayer doesn't reach. Along with the journal, you'll also receive as a gift the prayer guide and the Psalms manual, with the most powerful sacred practices and texts to deepen your transformation. To claim your version of the journal, tap the link in the comments right below this video. Not on paper. There's no way to write this down. You did it in your head, in that hollow silence before sleep. Everything that hasn't arrived yet. Everything you tried that fell apart. Every promise, whether from yourself or someone else, that's still hanging in the air. And in the middle of that inventory, you ask the most honest question a person can ask. Why me? Why this way? Why not yet? And no answer was ever big enough to fill the void that question left behind. Then there's the weight. The thing that hits your chest without warning and without a name. It's not sadness. Sadness has a reason, and you know how to label that. It's not anxiety. Anxiety has a direction, a tomorrow to worry about. And it's not nostalgia. Nostalgia has a yesterday to cling to. What hits your chest is something bigger than all of that, and smaller than any word you've ever found in the English language. The worst part is that it hits hardest exactly when everything seems fine. When everyone else is satisfied and laughing, you feel that ache grow. As if your soul knows there is something massive that hasn't been opened yet. Something that hasn't been activated. Something waiting for you on the other side of a door you haven't found, and time is slipping away while the door remains hidden. You stayed standing through all of it. Not because it was easy, but because there was something inside that wouldn't let you quit. And that, in itself, tells you everything about who you are. Hitting the like button on this video is your public amen. Heaven records what you confess openly. If this word is reaching you right now, mark it. This is a spiritual act, not a platform metric. Before we go further, I need to tell you 3 things this message will deliver. First, what you've carried as a burden your whole life, that feeling of not fitting in, of being different without being able to explain why, is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is the signature of a mission prophesied before your birth. Not a mistake, not a delay, not a punishment, a signature. Second, you are going to receive the full protocol for free to access the decree that was written over you before you were born, a decree that survived every moment it should have been erased. And third, when you leave here, you will be able to declare with authority something you've maybe never said out loud for fear of sounding arrogant, that you are not who the world decided you were. I put you here because this word is for you. What you're about to hear wasn't sent to everyone. It was sent to the person prepared to receive it now, in this specific window. Now look away from the screen for a second. Close your eyes if you can. Take a deep breath on purpose. What I'm about to show you requires your full attention. There are signs throughout your life that you didn't know how to read. Not because you're slow, but because no one gave you the code. Today, the code is being handed over. The first sign is that recurring feeling of not belonging. Not to the neighborhood, not to the family tree, not to the friend group, not to the office culture. A very specific discomfort with the ordinary that everyone else accepted without question. You grew up surrounded by people who found satisfaction in whatever was available. People who didn't feel that misalignment you felt. People who seemed to be exactly where they were supposed to be without needing a reason. You looked at them and thought you were the problem. That something was broken inside you that made everything feel insufficient when it should have been enough. But what was that really? It was your spirit knowing there was more. Knowing you were placed there as a traveler, not a resident. That environment was the training ground, not the destination. Discomfort with the ordinary isn't a character flaw. It's the radar of someone prophesied for something beyond the ordinary, working before you even knew the name of the feeling. The second sign is the talent that shows up without effort. There is something you do that looks like magic to other people, but to you, it seems completely obvious, natural, almost too simple to be valued. You spent years downplaying it, saying it's nothing, saying anyone could do it, thinking it doesn't deserve attention because it feels like breathing. But everyone can't do it. What's natural to you is what heaven embedded in you before revealing what it's for. The tool always precedes the task. You received the equipment years before you received the instruction manual. The fact that it feels easy doesn't make it less real. It makes it your standard issue gear for the mission. The third sign is the dreams that return, years apart. The same atmosphere, the same images, the same symbols that you wake up unable to decode, but that linger. They stay in the back of your memory with a different weight than a normal dream. You dismiss them. You called it your subconscious or stress or an overactive imagination. But what was it really? Your spirit was receiving transmissions that your waking mind didn't have the vocabulary to process yet. The subconscious doesn't produce repetitive, specific scenarios without a source. It records what was sent, and what has been sent repeatedly over years with the same weight and direction isn't noise. It's a broadcast on a frequency your daytime mind hasn't learned to tune into yet. The fourth sign are the moments where life almost stopped. The illness the doctors couldn't explain your recovery from. The car wreck that by every law of physics should have had no survivors. The situation that should have ended everything, but didn't. You called it luck at the time. A miracle without an explanation. A statistical fluke. But what was that really? Active protection. Protection over a purpose that hasn't been fulfilled yet. Protection over a bearer who was being prepared and couldn't be taken out before finishing what was written. There was no accident in those moments. not on the side of the danger and not on the side of the escape. There was a decree of protection over a life that heaven still needed for the plan drafted before the dawn of time. The fifth sign is the inexplicable attraction to causes that have no apparent connection to your personal history, to places you've never visited but feel like you know before you arrive, to people who carry something similar to you, whom you recognize before a single word is exchanged, to contexts that pull at you in a way that logic can't justify. This isn't random curiosity. It's a calling arriving before your comprehension, because it was written before your birth. The calling precedes the name you'll give it. And now, I need your total focus for what comes next, because the next sign is the hardest to hear. It's the one the enemy has spent the most time trying to make you ignore, question, and ridicule. Because if this sign is recognized by its true name, the decree can no longer be denied. The sixth sign is the certainty, not the euphoric high that comes from a powerful meeting and fades by Monday morning. Not the certainty that depends on daily affirmations to stay alive. It's the silent, constant certainty that exists at the bottom of everything, beneath the noise, beneath the doubt, beneath the exhaustion and the unanswered questions. The certainty that there is something you came here to do. No name for it yet. No map. No validation from anyone else, or even from yourself. A certainty that persists even when everything around you tries to convince you it's just arrogance, that it's just a fantasy for people who can't accept reality, that humble people don't think they have a special purpose. But that certainty isn't arrogance. It isn't megalomania. It is the watermark of a prophecy that cannot be erased. The enemy doesn't invest this much effort trying to delete something that doesn't exist. He hunts what is real. And if he spent this much time trying to convince you that certainty was an illusion, it's because he knew that once you gave it its real name, nothing he built against you could stand. If you identified with any of these signs, type "free" in the comments right now. Not as a metaphor, but as a public confession that this word hit its mark. Close your eyes for a second. Deep breath. What I'm about to tell you doesn't work if your attention is split. Stay with me. There was a man born before he ever made a choice of his own. Before he had a name. Before he had a voice. And in that state, before he was even formed in his mother's womb, the Creator had already decided his path. He had already set him apart. He had already designated him a prophet to the nations. That was the declaration. Not to a small group, not in a comfortable context. To the nations, plural, no borders. When this man heard the decree over his life, his first response was resistance. I'm not ready. I don't know how to speak. I'm too young. That resistance sounds familiar because it's the same one you use when that silent certainty shows up. The list of reasons why the decree should be about someone else. The missing credentials. The experience that should have come sooner. That man's name was Jeremiah. And the Creator's response to his resistance wasn't a list of arguments. It wasn't a resume of skills Jeremiah didn't know he had. It was a declaration of origin. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. The decree over Jeremiah didn't depend on Jeremiah's opinion of himself. It didn't depend on him feeling ready. It didn't depend on his eloquence or his maturity. The decree was sealed before the conversation even started. Think about the sequoia tree. It spends decades underground before it ever breaks the surface. Not years. Decades. Decades of pressure, of darkness, of growth that no one sees, of silent accumulation that produces nothing visible. And when it finally breaks through, it doesn't gently nudge the dirt aside. It shatters the stone. It moves with the full force of decades of pent-up pressure waiting for its moment of release. What looked like a delay to an outsider was the necessary process. What looked like a lack of growth was the accumulation of a strength that only the weight of the stone can produce. The sequoia isn't late. It was being formed with enough power to break whatever was above it. Jeremiah didn't choose the decree. The sequoia doesn't choose the stone. Both were placed exactly where they needed to be to fulfill what was written before they could even have an opinion on the matter. And so were you. The place where you grew up, the moments that nearly broke you, the decades of silent pressure that no one saw. They weren't accidents of a disorganized life. They were the tempering of a decree bearer. If you relate to Jeremiah's resistance, that feeling of not being ready for what was prophesied, type Jeremiah in the comments. If you relate more to the sequoia's weight, the silent pressure of decades that hasn't produced the visible breakthrough yet, type sequoia. Neither position is weakness. Both are the exact path of the prophecy. Let me stop for one full minute. You got this far carrying something that had no name. It created a very specific kind of loneliness. The loneliness of being different without understanding why. Of feeling something massive inside, waiting to be flipped on without knowing when. Here are the facts. You felt a recurring discomfort with the ordinary. You were given a talent that felt natural to you, but extraordinary to others. You had dreams that returned over years. You survived moments you shouldn't have. You felt drawn to causes unrelated to your history, and you carried beneath it all a silent certainty that there was something you came here to do. These aren't symptoms of confusion. They are confirmations that something was sealed over your life before your birth. And here is who you are in the middle of all this. What you're about to hear isn't a human title given for good performance. It's not a label you earned. It's what I call you when I speak to heaven about you. Before any human confirmation, before any visible progress, it is what I call you right now, in this moment. I know how long you carried the weight of this decree without knowing its name. I saw every night in front of the mirror. I saw every time the certainty almost buckled under the weight of doubt. And I know the time for the reveal has come. Receive the name of what you are. Identity number 1. You are a decree bearer, not a dreamer, not someone with potential to be developed. A decree bearer. There is a fundamental difference. A dream depends on your effort, your discipline, and your ability to build it. A decree is already sealed. You don't create it. You carry it. Your job is to be a faithful steward of what was written, not to produce it through your own performance. I saw every night you held that nameless weight and didn't throw it away. Every moment logic told you to quit, and something deeper told you to keep going. You didn't know it was a decree that needed a faithful bearer, but you were faithful even without knowing what you were being faithful to. That is what defines you. What this identity authorizes is simple. You can stop asking for permission to exist the way you were created to exist. You no longer need to wait for someone outside to validate or approve what heaven has already signed. Human approval is nice, but it isn't a prerequisite. A decree bearer doesn't ask for a permit to carry what was handed to them. They just carry it. Identity number 2. You are a cycle breaker, not a continuation of the family story. Not an heir to the patterns of those who came before. A breaker. The patterns that stop with you. The ways of thinking. The relationship with self-worth. The ceilings on what is possible. Those things reached you not to be repeated, but to be ended. I saw the patterns that tried to get into you. I saw what tried to reproduce in your character what was present in the generations before. And I saw where it stopped. That wasn't a coincidence. It was a decree. You were sent at this exact point in the bloodline to be the rupture. What this identity authorizes. You can stop measuring your progress by the yardstick of those who came before you. Their map is not your map. You weren't sent to pick up where they left off. You were sent to break what they couldn't. Identity number 3. You are a prophesied voice. The words that have been stuck inside you for years. The stories you never told because they felt too big, too personal, or like there was no one to hear them. The warnings you saw clearly but didn't give. The declarations your mouth didn't dare make for fear of looking crazy. Those words didn't stay stuck because of your weakness. They stayed because there was a right time for them to be released, and heaven was waiting for the bearer to have enough maturity so the voice wouldn't destroy the person carrying it. I saw the words waiting inside you. I know how heavy they are, and I know that weight had a purpose. The voice that was contained for the right amount of time comes out with an authority that a rushed voice can never have. The silence of a prophesied voice isn't an absence of content. It's the preparation for delivery. What this identity authorizes. Start speaking what you were given to speak. Not everything at once, just the next thing, in the right context, at the right time. Because the silence of the prophesied has a cost once the hour to speak has arrived. And the hour is here. Type in the comments which identity you connect with most right now. Bearer, breaker, or voice. And if you aren't subscribed yet, do it now. What's being delivered here isn't meant to be consumed once and forgotten. It's meant to be accessed whenever the decree needs reaffirmation. Now here is what you came for. What was prophesied over you is accessible, not through extraordinary effort, but through 3 movements I'm giving you right now. This is the protocol of the decree. Movement 1. 2 minutes of silence, hand on your chest. Not to ask, to listen. There is a massive difference between the silence of someone begging for an answer and the silence of someone positioning themselves to receive what is already written. You aren't looking for a decree that needs to be created. You are accessing one that already exists. These 2 minutes are the posture of the bearer, not the plea of the beggar. Be still and let what already exists reach you. Movement 2. Declare out loud a truth about yourself that you don't fully believe yet. Pick one of the 3 identities. Say it out loud, right where you are, loud enough for your own ears to hear. I am a decree bearer. Or I am a cycle breaker. Or I am a prophesied voice. Don't wait to feel it's true before you say it. Prophecy requires the mouth to activate what the Spirit has already received, not the other way around. Movement 3. Identify one action this week, just one, that aligns with who you were prophesied to be. Not the final destination, just the next step. A conversation the decree bearer would have that you've been putting off. A word the prophesied voice would speak. A decision the cycle breaker would make. One action, this week, specific enough that you'll know by Sunday if it happened. The sign that the decree has been received isn't euphoria. It isn't immediate tears or a dramatic high. It's stillness. A very specific quietness that doesn't feel like giving up and doesn't feel like indifference. A quietness that has weight. That is the signature of the truth being received by the right person at the right time. If you are receiving this protocol, type received in the comments. Now listen, what was received will be attacked. Not maybe, it will. And the best protection is knowing the name of the attack before it hits. In the next 72 hours, 3 things will be thrown at you. Tactic 1, the common origin. It will come disguised as humility. It will say, you aren't special because you were born in ordinary circumstances. People with destinies have dramatic backstories. Your life is too normal for this to be real. It will sound reasonable, but it's a lie dressed as a virtue. Jeremiah was from a small-town family. The sequoia starts as a seed a child can hide in their palm. A common origin doesn't invalidate an extraordinary decree. It's the standard operating procedure. Tactic 2, delay as proof of error. It will come disguised as logic. It will say, if it were true, it would have happened by now. The delay proves it was a mistake. You just wanted to feel special. But the logic of the decree doesn't follow a human calendar. The sequoia takes decades. The delay isn't evidence of a mistake. It's evidence that the decree is bigger than what has manifested so far. Tactic 3, comparison with the finished product. It will come disguised as inspiration. It will show you people who have already fulfilled their callings, who have the fruits and the visibility. It will whisper, "See? Their timing was different. They're already there. You're left behind. Your moment passed." But another person's calling is not the ruler for your decree. Comparing your path to theirs is using Jeremiah's yardstick to measure a sequoia. And there is a fourth enemy that doesn't come from the outside. It comes from within. It uses your own voice. It says that believing in your decree is arrogance. That real people of faith don't think they were prophesied for anything. This is the most dangerous because it uses the vocabulary of virtue to produce the result of the enemy. Real humility isn't rejecting what was given for fear of looking proud. Real humility is receiving what was sealed with gratitude, not returning it. Type "protected" in the comments. The decree is sealed. The protection is active. Now, the closing. Hand on your chest. Feet firm on the ground. Eyes closed if you can. You arrived at this moment carrying things it is time to hand over. Not to pretend they don't exist, but to actually hand them over. The first thing, the version of yourself that had to shrink to be accepted. The size you reduced yourself to so that the people around you wouldn't feel uncomfortable. The voice you lowered. The space you gave up. That shrunken version wasn't you. It was a survival strategy for environments that didn't have a category for what you were carrying. That strategy is over. The second thing, the explanations you tried to give for things that didn't fit into words. The times you stood frozen in a conversation because you couldn't translate what you felt inside. That wasn't a lack of vocabulary, it was a reality bigger than the available language. The decree doesn't fit into small talk. You can stop apologizing for being unable to explain yourself to people who aren't equipped to hear you. And the third thing, the time spent waiting for someone outside to confirm what heaven had already signed. The approval you chased that came too late, or never came at all. You can let that go. Not because it wasn't valid to want to be seen, but because heaven has already seen you. And heaven's confirmation doesn't need a human co-signer to be real. Let me talk directly to you. I saw you that morning, alone in front of the mirror before everyone else was up. I saw the silence of that hour. I saw the face you looked at without recognizing, the one that seemed to belong to someone without a confirmed destination. What I want you to know today is that the face in that mirror was the face of a decree bearer. You didn't recognize it because you didn't have the name for it yet. Now you do. And that mirror will never look the same. I saw the weight in your chest that came without warning. The times you tried to call it sadness so you could treat it, or anxiety so you could manage it. What I want you to know is that weight had a name before you were born. Decree. You were carrying the weight of the prophesied that hadn't been revealed, and the weight of a decree doesn't go away when it's ignored. It grows until it is accepted and carried with intention. I saw every time you thought you were too late. Every time exhaustion and comparison almost convinced you the decree was for someone else. I was there in every one of those nights. I was there in every silent inventory, present not as a distant observer, but as the one who knew the bearer by name before any name was ever given. What was prophesied over you before your birth is sealed by an authority that does not answer to a human calendar. It is not affected by the opinions of those who doubted or those who never saw you. It is not canceled by the time that passed or the decades of pressure. The decree is the decree. Now, before the Amen, there is a declaration you are going to make out loud. With your voice, in your tone, right where you are. Say it. I was prophesied. I received the name of what I carry. Say it again, loud enough for you to hear it and receive what was sealed. Amen. Type done in the comments. Not as a video-watched signal, but as a spiritual seal that the decree was received, the name was accepted, and the bearer is standing. There is one person in your life who also wakes up at 3 in the morning. Someone who has stood in front of that mirror. Someone carrying something massive that doesn't fit into their conversations. One specific person. Share this with them. Because the decree of the prophesied wasn't meant to be carried in silence when there is someone right next to you who needs to hear the same truth with the same authority. In the next video, we'll talk about what happens after the decree is received. What heaven moves when the bearer stops hiding and starts carrying. The calling written before your birth has a visible next step. And that step has a name you are finally ready to hear. It is done. You are not the same person you were when this message started. You seek. You dedicate yourself. You do everything right, and yet abundance never comes. And the worst part? You start wondering if you're doing something wrong, if you're being heard up above, if it's meant for you at all. It's not a lack of faith or worthiness. It's a spiritual blockage that ordinary prayer alone cannot break. The Miracle Journal unblocks this in 21 days with a spiritual protocol that works exactly where your prayer doesn't reach. Along with the journal, you'll also receive as a gift the prayer guide and the Psalms manual with the most powerful sacred practices and texts to deepen your transformation. To claim your version of the journal, tap the link in the comments right below this video.